back to the Diabetic Diet Show. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today we're going to make a mustard pork roast with apple, kale, and roasted Brussels sprouts. And of course you could substitute the kale with spinach if you want. This is show number 229. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the oven. It's almost preheated. Lining your broiler pan with this aluminum foil will really help you when it comes to cleanup time, so I definitely recommend that. Our ingredients are going to be the pork roast, an apple, kale, Brussels sprouts, Dijon mustard, maple syrup, apple cider vinegar, and then our spices. For spices, basil. I happen to have my favorite Mexican basil. I have sage, thyme, oregano, garlic powder, rosemary, Italian seasoning, and some sesame seeds. You can also use flax seeds. Let's get started. I've started the pork in the oven. I put it in the center and I'm preheating it to 450 degrees. Now I've patted dry the pork with some towels. Now I'm going to put some olive oil on it in just a couple of minutes, and some salt and pepper and some spices to cover it. Now the spice that I have is going to be my rub. So I have a bowl here to put my ingredients in. So I've already, to save time, I've already gone and sprinkled all of these ingredients here so it's all set for me. Now to see the list of ingredients, you don't have to write it down right now. Just go to my website, which is jamestdds.blogspot.com, and there you'll see all the ingredients. And while I'm thinking of it, in the lower right hand corner right now is a subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button and then you can see my other videos and hit the bell so when I do some new ones you'll get notified. As far as all these ingredients go, I just have my vinegar and maple syrup, my spices, there we go. Looking really, really, really good. Glad I was wearing an apron there. I almost got baptized again. Got my spices looking really good. These smell really, really good. This is going to be a really good meal. Now we need to start getting our Brussels sprouts ready. I just cut off the root, I cut off the top, peel off the outer. You know, these Brussels sprouts are like little cabbages. I like it because the outsides peel off real easy. You know, when you're cooking and you have to do garlic and sometimes you can't get that wax paper off the garlic, the Brussels sprouts just are a lot easier to work with. If you find a bad spot, just cut it off. You got plenty of Brussels sprouts. They're just so darn good. And you know, you can cook Brussels sprouts with a little bit of olive oil on them, some salt and pepper, and I'll tell you, they just taste great. We need to cut up the apple, so I'm just going to cut where I estimate that the core is inside. holding the apple like this with my 3 fingers. And then I'm just going to cut these into slices. Let's grab a bowl for these. Here's the apples. I'm going to throw these in. Here's a bowl for the Brussels sprouts. For the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to put some olive oil on them. Just like this, and I like a lot of olive oil. Thank you to my sister, who supplies me with my olive oil. Salt and pepper. I'm using fresh cracked black pepper. If you haven't tried fresh cracked black pepper, boy, I'll tell you, it is great. Compared to just regular. And then I'm just using sea salt. These look really good. We'll just give them a toss like that in the oil. Now we need to set this stuff aside for a moment, and we need to bring out the pork. As soon as it's been cooking for 15 minutes, you want to bring it out and then put your rub on it. Put it all back in the oven until your pork is 145 degrees minimum, maybe 155 to 160, depending on how well done you like your pork. It's time to put the Brussels sprouts in with the pork roast, and then they're going to need to cook for about 12 to 17 minutes. So let's go ahead and dump them in there. I have a glove on to use when I get near the stove. Next, let's start on our kale. So with our kale, we're going to need to remove the stems. We're also going to need a pan to cook them in. So let's grab up a frying pan. I'm going to use one of my deep dish frying pans. Let's go ahead and turn this on. And let's put some olive oil in here. And then we'll get working on the kale. So you want to check your pork roast and make sure it's at least 145 to 165. And mine is 170, so it's plenty good cooked. I'm going to take some of my sauce right here just for the moment. Just going to spoon some on here just like that. Now you have to let this sit and rest for at least 5 minutes. I just threw the apples in the oven with the Brussels sprouts. So we'll let them cook for just a few minutes. Let's get started on our kale. Our pan is starting to get hot. I can see the oil. It's fairly easy to do. You just take your kale, find where your stem is on here. Basically just cut off your stem. And then for this, you can just cut this up, kind of coarse cut it. I also have a 1/4 cup of water that I'm going to put in a little bit once the pan gets really, really hot to steam it. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's a little time consuming, gives you something to do. You could even do it by hand if you don't want to cut. Pull the stems off. You know, you're supposed to cut lettuce by tearing it apart with your hands rather than scissors. or a knife. When I was a kid and worked in a restaurant, I got in trouble by the manager because I cut up all the lettuce, and I still remember her name. She took the whole tub of lettuce that I cut, walked over and threw it in the trash because I cut it up. Now what's nice is, you fast forward 30 some years later and I'm doing this for myself. To be honest with you, I still like to cut my lettuce from time to time. However, I did learn a trick, and I don't remember from where or who, but I take my lettuce, and you'll see this in some of my videos, I just pull the lettuce out of the center of the head so I get only nice clean lettuce. I'll tell you, this is a lot of kale that I got in this bag. I think I'm just going to cook that much, and let's let it go for a couple of minutes. We can take and let's put some salt. Let's put some pepper. Let's put some more olive oil on top. And then we're going to take our spice mix that we made here, and I'm just going to try to slowly drizzle it around in different spots. I spread it around. That is going to be delicious. Let that go for a couple minutes. After it starts to wilt, then I'll pour in the water to steam. Can't rush it. We'll just clean up a little bit. Wow, it really smells good. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of a shake here. Look at that. Putting in the water nice and slow. Look at that. I wish we had smell-o-vision. I wish you could smell that. Wow, that's great. Let's grab this pork. This had to cool for a good 5 minutes while the kale cooked. We can go ahead and turn this off now. We'll let that sit for a little bit. And let's cut up this pork. Got to be careful with these little plastic cutting boards because, as you can see, it slips around on you. I took the big one off the table here. I'm only cutting this up into a couple of pieces a piece, so there's 2 of us. That's it. That's how I'm cutting it up to serve. Looks delicious. Wow. Just like that. Now let's grab out of the oven the Brussels sprouts and the apple, and let's see what that looks like. Here we go with the Brussels sprouts and the apples. They smell so good. I'm going to go ahead and take my pan here. And I'm going to offload these into the pan. Combine them together. Gotta be careful on these countertops, you know, it's slippery. Everything slides around on you, especially when you have hot pans. Okay, look at that. Wow. Then, just gonna stir this up like this. Mix it all in there like that. And then let's just serve this up. Let's go ahead and serve this up because this is looking delicious. We'll take and pull off a couple of pieces of pork here, just like this. And then the mix of the apples with the Brussels sprouts and the kale. Roasted Brussels sprouts with kale. That is going to be delicious. Well, that's the show for the day. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye for now.